The Leopard 2 is a German main battle tank developed by Kraus Maffei for the Bundeswehr. It is widely regarded as one of the most successful and capable tanks of the modern era. In the 1960s, West Germany and the United States cooperated on a joint tank project called the MBT-70, aiming to replace their aging tank fleets. However, the project was plagued by technical disagreements and cost overruns, leading to its cancellation in the early 1970s. Germany, needing a next-generation tank, decided to proceed independently, drawing on the lessons from both the Leopard 1 and the failed MBT-70. Development of the Leopard 2 began in 1970, with prototypes being completed by 1972 and the tank entering service in 1979. In-game, the Leopard 2s can be found in many tech trees. These include the German tech tree, Italian tech tree, French tech tree, and Swedish tech tree. The tanks in the German tech tree include the Leopard 2K, the PT-16T14, the Leopard 2AV, the Leopard 2A4, the Leopard 2A4 Panzer Battalion 123, the Leopard 2A4M, the Leopard 2PL, the Leopard 2A5, the Leopard 2A5 PSO, the Leopard 2A6, and the Leopard 2A7. The Italian tree features the Leopard 2A4 and the Leopard 2A7V. The French tree features the Leopard 2A4NL, the Leopard 2A5NL, and the Leopard 2A6NL, while the Swedish tree features the Leopard 2A4, STRV-121, STRV-121 Christian, STRV-122A, STRV-122B PLSS, and the STRV-122B Plus with the Leopard 2A6 in the Finnish subtree. The first Leopard 2s in-game are the pre-production prototypes. These include the Leopard 2K, the PT-16T14, and the Leopard 2AV. The pre-production prototypes can be split into two variants, the Leopard 1-based prototypes being the Leopard 2K and the PT-16T14 due to their lack of proper armor but exceptional mobility, and the later prototypes which end up being a lot closer to the final production Leopard 2. The Leopard 2K is the lowest BR out of the trio. It is armed with a 120mm Rheinmetall L44 smoothbore cannon, a roof-mounted 20mm RH-202, and a MG3 as a coaxial machine gun. The Leopard 2K is categorized by having exceptional mobility but lacking armor. Out of the trio of the Leopard 2 prototypes, the Leopard 2K is my personal favorite due to it essentially being a light tank, and the 20mm autocannon is extremely useful for taking out barrels, helicopters, light tanks, and other things. The second prototyping game is the PT-16T14. It is at 10.7, it features a 4-second autoloader, however it lacks the 20mm of the Leopard 2K. The best comparison to the PT-16T14 is the Japanese Type 90, as in playstyle they are both identical due to their lack of armor and very high mobility. The final prototype of the Leopard 2 is the Leopard 2AV. This is the most advanced prototype, however, it is at the same BR as the Leopard 2K, and it has extremely good firepower and armor. This makes it absurdly strong, as it's essentially a Leopard 2A4 with slightly less penetration. Luckily, it's fairly rare. However, it can completely ruin any 9.0 games if it's down-tiered. The midlife Leopard 2s are all very solid tanks, featuring decent armor, mobility, and firepower. The midlife modifications of the Leopard 2s include all of the Leopard 2A4s and their modernized counterparts. The Leopard 2A4s are all located at 10.7 and feature identical armor, firepower, and mobility. All the Leopard 2s, except the STRV-121, do not feature stock APFSDS, so the STRV-121 has a very easy stock round due to having APFSDS as its stock round. A somewhat useless feature is that most Tech Tree Leopard 2A4s feature a researchable entrenchment tool as a modification. While being rarely useful in its intended role, it can prove somewhat useful as makeshift armor for the lower plate. Gameplay-wise, all the Leopard 2A4s should be played in the traditional NATO MBT playstyle, of being somewhat passive and prioritizing sniping, careful positioning, and movement. Personally, I like the Leopard 2A4 a lot, as it is a fun MBT and is visually very appealing despite the fact it is very box-like. The upgraded Leopard 2A4s are both at 11.7, and one of them is noticeably better than the other, these being the Leopard 2A4M and the Leopard 2PL. The Leopard 2A4M is a somewhat mediocre premium as it features poor armor and mobility. One of its upsides is the fact it has the KEW APFSDS shell and second generation thermals. The other upgraded Leopard 2 is the Polish Leopard 2PL. While the Leopard 2PL is a squadron vehicle, it is more comparable to the Leopard 2A5, as it features incredibly strong turret armor, good thermals, and a good round. Playstyle-wise, the Leopard 2PL is more similar to the Leopard 2A5, while the 2A4M is more comparable to the Leopard 2A4. As well, the stock range for the Leopard 2 PL is even worse than the base model 2A4, due to being a full BR higher. The late light Leopard 2s include the Leopard 2A5, Leopard 2A5 PSO, Leopard 2A6, Leopard 2A7, as well the Swedish STRV 122A, 122B PLSS, and 122B+. For starters, we will begin with the most basic of them. This being the Leopard 2A5, it is the oldest out of all of the late life Leopard 2 models. It sits at 12.0 and has very good turret armor, solid mobility, and amazing firepower. Its playstyle is the same as the other Leopard 2s. However, due to it having the amazing DM53 APFSDS round, it makes its firepower exceptionally good, being able to defeat very thick upper plates found on Soviet MBTs. The succeeding Leopard 2A5 PSO is identical to the Leopard 2A5, however it has add-on side armor and a 50 caliber HMG mounted in a remote controlled turret. It has additional armor upon the angled part of the upper plate, however unlike the Leopard 2A7V and the STRV 122, it lacks the add-on armor in the parts that actually matter. As well, like the Leopard 2A4, it features a researchable entrenchment tool, however at this point the add-on armor it provides is essentially useless. The Leopard 2A6 is very similar to the base model of the Leopard 2A5, however it is armed with the incredibly potent Rheinmetall 120mm L55. This makes its firepower even more potent due to having access to DM53 APFSDS. The Leopard 2A7V is the final German Leopard 2. It is the pinnacle of the Leopard 2 family. It's essentially a Leopard 2A6 with better thermals, add-on armor, and other improvements. This allows the Leopard 2A7V to be a lot more aggressive due to having very small weak spots and the extremely well-protected upper plate. The final versions of the Leopard 2 and its late life modification in-game are the STRV 122s. These are essentially Leopard 2s based on the Leopard 2 TVM prototype. They feature extremely good armor, being on par with the Leopard 2A7Vs. They feature stock APFSDS, making their stock grinds very easy. As well, they do not feature the DM53 APFSDS round, rather the slightly inferior M95 APFSDS rounds. The Swedish Leopard 2s form the best 12.0 lineup in-game, due to essentially being slightly worse Leopard 2A7Vs. The Leopard 2s proved to be incredibly potent and well-rounded MBTs in War Thunder. While they have solid to incredible armor, great mobility, and solid to excellent firepower, they feature some noticeable issues. These being the recent nerf that does not allow the Leopard 2 to depress its gun in a 180-degree arc behind itself, which proves to be a rather large issue as it makes the Leopard 2 incredibly vulnerable to flanking. As well, due to this issue, the Leopard 2s must be played extremely cautiously in urban environments. Personally, the Leopard 2 family of MBTs is one of my favorite in-game, and a lot of them are still extremely potent tanks.
Jump, Coy, look at this jump. I'm not gonna kill. Oh.
Requesting orbital.
No, I don't care.
Opa.